Hi, my name is Stephanie Letourneau, and I'm a master's student at William & Mary's Batten School and the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. During my time here, I had an internship at Acadia National Park in Maine, where I worked on developing protocols for volunteers to be able to contribute to science and resource management in the park. One of the citizen science projects aimed to monitor for sea stars in the rocky intertidal zone to help document sea star abundances and learn more about other species that live within their communities. This lesson plan, The Search for Sea Stars, is geared towards 7th grade students and allows them to become scientists monitoring sea stars and intertidal zone species to discover shifts in populations over time. The lesson's designed to bring the intertidal zone into the classroom so that students can understand more about coastline monitoring, determining percent cover, and the role of keystone species. This lesson begins with a background presentation, which can be adapted for what you feel your students may need more background on. There's also an optional note sheet that you're able to provide for students to follow along during the presentation and have evidence recording of their hypotheses at the end of the background presentation. The presentation begins with an introduction to coastal Maine and that the Gulf of Maine is warming 99.9% faster than the global ocean. It then will dive into describing the ever-changing intertidal zone, introducing students to the important species that they will be encountering in the lesson plan, and breaking down concepts like keystone species and invasive species. After the background, students are then introduced to the activity, showing them their monitoring site on the coast of Maine and the years that they will be time traveling to investigate species abundances and population change. Students will be shown what monitoring at an actual coastline looks like with transects and quadrats. And then they'll be introduced to one of the ways they are evaluating species, which is by using percent cover, the amount of area covered by a species or organism. They will have 3 examples to help them practice, including one with the actual quadrats they'll be using. Finally, students will learn what they will be doing in the classroom. Prior to the class period beginning, teachers will designate one side of the room as 1979 and the other side as 2021. For each year, teachers will set up 6 quadrats for 12 total according to the letter they are labeled, with A through F at 1979 and G through L at 2021. On their respective side of the classroom, these can be put on desks, the ground, or spread among tables. Common items and printouts will represent the species that students will be monitoring for. Intertidal rocks and sea stars are a printable attachment that should be printed double-sided. It prints out exactly as many of you need of empty rocks with no stars under them and rocks with stars under them. Blue mussels are already on the quadrats. And then we add in different colored string to represent algae. And then you have a choice for urchins. I suggest using cotton balls or pom-poms, and you can add dots to show the spikes or even paint them. But whatever you do, make sure you hold that up for students. There are instructions for how many rocks with stars to place, how many empty rocks to place, the number of each type of algae strings, and number of urchins. This photo shows what the final product can look like, of course not separated. The rocks can go on top of printed blue mussels and algae, but not the urchins. The idea is that sea stars are not always present, and they're searching to find them in the mess that is the intertidal zone. One note is a teacher recommends storing each quadrat and its contents in a bin or envelope or bag for easy reset between periods if needed or general storage. For the activity, students should work in small groups or pairs to then monitor each quadrat for 1 year so that they are monitoring no more than 6 quadrats. So they'll be assigned either to 2021 or 1979. There should be no more than 1 group at a quadrat at a time, and they should practice leave no trace principles to not disturb the organisms. While monitoring, this slide should stay up so that they're reminded what each item represents and can record site info when there's a lull in time. Their data sheet will have spots for the number of stars, percent cover, and notes where they can record the abundance of other species. Once monitoring has completed, a small group from 1 year should then pair up with a group from the other year and follow along with the Think, Pair, Share handout to investigate what is different between the years. Students will continue to work on the handout by graphing their data and then work together to fill out the evaluation question. On the handout, they'll also be prompted to prepare to share out their findings and answer these questions to see what each group concluded. So these questions, and they're also on their sheet. Finally, students will be shown what the scientists are hypothesizing is occurring. One important note that you could mention to your students here is that blue mussels, urchins, and algae responses in this lesson plan are not quite representative of what researchers are finding right now. These parameters were adjusted to help emphasize the role of sea stars as keystone species. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy monitoring on coastal Maine.